Cue the cheesy podcast music.
Welcome to Megafest, where we don't just manifest, we Megafest. I'm your host, Megs Malloy. I'm creating a community of silly and soulful working moms who are mostly happy, but know they're capable of more. More self-love, more self-esteem, more self-trust, more calm, joy, natural highs, more magic in the world, and more laughter. Each week, me and my guests will bring you tips and tricks on how to make the most of your one precious life. And we're going to make them effective and efficient because ain't nobody got time for that. I believe in you. I see the light in you. I want you to shine your light. I want you to become all that you're capable of. So let's hang out. Let's Megafest together. Megafest, episode 4. What's up? Hi. Welcome back. And if it's your first time, everybody has a first time. So you are no longer a Megafest virgin. All right. So I just have to take a minute and this platform to give praise to girlfriends and community, supportive, non-judgmental community where you can be vulnerable. I am part of a group called Mind Your Business, and it's fellow solopreneurs kind of starting off in their business, and we support each other and we learn and give each other best practices and things. And it has come to my attention after my hot seat that I am not making a clear offer to people. So watch out, world. You're going to get some clear offers from Megs Malloy. I just want to say that these supportive communities and girlfriends are just so wonderful. This might be an opportunity for you to pick up your phone and give a girlfriend you haven't talked to in a while just a little buzz, a text message. Maybe you send her a GIF or a GIF, whatever you call it. Maybe something that you think might make her laugh. Just let them know how special they are to you. I guarantee you it's going to give you a little dopamine hit, and it's going to give them a little chuckle, and the world is so much better. Poof, just like that. That's what we're doing here at Megafest. Speaking of girlfriends, it was my sister Caitlin's best friend Fiona who introduced me to today's Megafest guest. Fiona sent me her Instagram account, and I immediately fell in love with Bara. Her energy is sort of like a surfer and like a wise sage of a woman, and just very calm and no resistance at all in her personality. Just very much showing up as her full self and shining her light. And I'm so grateful to Fiona for sending her over. When I started Instagram stalking Bara, and I asked her if she would want to be on Megafest, and of course she said yes. When she got on the call before we started recording, she was telling me how she had just recently taken a Clifton's StrengthsFinder test. Now, if you have listened to me for any amount of time, you know that I love me some personality tests, especially the Clifton StrengthsFinder. So I was very eager to hear, well, what are your strengths? And she said, okay, well, I have connectedness. I was like, yeah, okay, I got that one. She said, I have woo, winning others over. Whoa, okay, I have that one. I have positivity. Yeah, check. And empathy. Oh my gosh. And then another one. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have the same 4 out of 5 top strengths. How amazing is that? What are the chances? You know, it really does go to show that the vibe that we give out will attract other people with that same vibe. And I was definitely attracted. So it's so perfect that we're in the same line of work, and she is just so lovable. I think you're going to love her too. So here's a little bit about Bara Mann. She is a transformational life coach and a speaker. As she said, this is in her own words, she helps people go from stuck or stalled to like, oh yeah, this is my life. How cool is that? She uses a blend of traditional coaching, intuitive questioning, energy work, and other tools she's picked up and developed. She's actually a chemical engineer turned energy healer. So her energy skill set includes Reiki, crystal energy, pendulum healing, and discovery and release of trapped emotions. And I think we all have at least one of those trapped emotions. The word of the day was betterment, which means making or becoming better, the act or process of improving something. Bara told me after we got off our call, she said betterment is not really a word that she uses very often or that she hears a lot, but that very day she got off the call, she ran into an old friend who used the word betterment in their conversation. And I think that is just really the story of Bara's life. There's so many synchronicities in her life because she's there for it. She's looking for them and she's open to it. Today, we're going to talk about how she transitioned from an engineer in the energy industry and transitioned into being an energy healer, also the energy industry, what modalities she likes to use for releasing trapped emotions, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So here we go. Have a listen. Here is Bara Mann. It's Bara in the house. Yay, Bara. Woo, woo.
Hello.
Yay. Thank you for being in the studio, Bara.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yay. Thank you. Welcome. And you are so adored here and so very loved, and I hope you make yourself feel comfortable. Like any good Irish person, I am going to start off by asking you, what do you have to drink?
I think right now I would take a sparkling water with some fresh squeezed orange, apricot, and mandarin. All of those things are very similar, but that was what came to mind.
Dude, you are that is awesome. Yes. Do you have a favorite sparkling water?
My favorite sparkling water, store-bought for sure, is Spindrift Mango. It's amazing.
Yes.
I've tried their lemon. I've tried all these flavors, and I just almost gave up. But then I had this mango one, and it just kind of feels like I'm at a party when I drink it.
Yes. Bara, that's my favorite too. So we are quickly seeing that we're very similar, and I'm not surprised because when our mutual friend Fiona introduced us, I was just like, oh my gosh, who is this lady Bara Co, and I just need more of her in my life. So tell me, like, when you're at a party and somebody says, what do you do? How do you answer?
Usually I answer, like, what do you mean, for work? Because I think there's so much more to what we do than our work. And I've tried to stop going there immediately with conversations because I think it's more fun. And most people don't love their job. So why are we going to talk about that first thing at a party, right?
Right, exactly. It doesn't have to be your identity. And you know what I found too? It's a very American question.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like there's so many other great things to talk about.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this show, we are here to talk about what you do because you are creating a betterment in our world. And I want to hear about what kind of, how are you helping people?
Yeah, absolutely. And that usually is the answer I get with kind of a really weird look too. Like, for work. I am a transformational life coach, and I support people in achieving the betterment of their own lives, which leads to the betterment of the world. But really, I help people go from feeling a little bit stuck or stalled to feeling like, oh, yes, like this is the life.
Yes, that is so awesome. That's so great. So obviously there's so many questions I have, like how do you do that? Or how did you get to doing that? when I did some internet stalking on you, I saw that maybe in your past life you used to be an engineer, which is very different from what you're doing now. So what was that? What was your own transformation like?
Wow. I think my transformation probably began with moving in with my parents in my 30s at the start of COVID.
I've done that too. Oh, in COVID. Okay.
Yeah, but I was engineering in the oil industry and I really liked it. At least the last job that I had was great and amazing. But then I moved in with my parents, life slowed down. I had to do a lot of interpersonal healing because I was living with my parents.
Yeah.
My parents are great, loving, caring people, but I think for almost everyone, parents are just so triggering, and it brought up a lot of stuff. Led me deeper into my own meditation practice, my own self-insight. Eventually I had this flash, like, what am I doing in the oil industry as an environmentalist? This isn't really super aligned, you know? Maybe there's something else I should be doing. And I got a great gift from the universe and my company, which was the option to volunteer for a layoff, which made leaving very, very easy. So I stepped out into the unknown in pursuit of betterment.
Keeping me busy here. That's awesome.
Of both my own career and the world. You know, I realized that mindfulness, compassion, those things are so important. And me bringing them to others was way too important for me to spend 40 hours a week doing something else. I just kind of stumbled into this spiritual journey that I wasn't planning to have. And eventually it became really clear that I'd already been coaching people throughout my whole life and that that's what they really wanted me to be doing. So I said, okay, I guess I'll take this full time and go for it.
Awesome. Good for you. What an act of courage. Just like, are you much of a daredevil, or
it's really
like if
fun.
You're at a water hole or something, you know, like in Costa Rica, and there's like this cliff that you get to jump off of into the water, and it's totally safe. Everybody else is doing it. But like, are you going to do it?
If it's a very low cliff, then I would love to. But if it's over like 8 feet, I don't know. I'll think about it. Up to 15, I'll definitely scream when I'm doing it. There's a certain height that absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I was actually reflecting on that this morning, because I remember being on vacation with some friends, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and someone just stopping me and saying, Bara, you might have to just accept that not everyone is as risk averse as you are. And being called out on my risk aversion. And I was like, whoa, my point here is very valid, and we should all consider this for our safety. And also, yes, I am risk averse, and I think I'm okay with that. But now I'm like planning out this trip, and I was just thinking, why don't I have any fear about this? This seems like something that I would have used to been very afraid of, but I guess I just have a lot more trust now that whatever happens to me is meant to happen to me. Not that I'm going to go jump off a like 21-foot cliff or anything, but
Yes. Oh, so how did you have a mentor through this process, or like your own energy healer, or were you reading books, or what sort of like fueled your mind?
there was a lot of different stuff. And I forgot to mention the energy healing part, which was really huge. And I think what kicked it off actually is I worked with a life coach who was amazing. Her program was 5 sessions, and I thought it was to help me find a new career. Partway through, I was like, actually, I don't care about the career. Like, I don't even remember what I said, what direction I had her take me. But the very end, she asked me if I'd ever considered connecting with my guides and asking them for answers, like spirit guides or things like that.
Mm-hmm. She got a little woo-woo on you, but it was, I mean, I'm here for it too.
Yeah. And I was just starting to explore that woo-woo space. Like, I think she kind of taught me about the law of attraction a little bit. not even fully, you know, I had never read or watched like The Secret by this point. I was just starting to open up into this. Things are coming to me that are meant to be for me kind of space. But she mentioned that I said, no, I haven't. I don't really even know what that means or how to do it, but I guess I'm interested in it. That same day, I think that night, I got an email from meetup.com about this week-long series on how to connect with your guides. And
I love it. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was amazing. So I joined that. It was hosted by some really incredible energy healers, and they were bringing in a lot of other energy healers through this process. And I was already trained in Reiki, but I wasn't really practicing it very much. It just led me down this whole path where I'd go visit with some of these healers, and then they would tell me about this experience they had with someone else. So I went and visited her. Then I finally started entrusting my intuition a lot more and accepted that I was meant to be mentored by this crystal healer. Even though I insisted to her and myself, I was never going to practice crystal healing on people. I wasn't going to buy crystals. They're not in my background, but there's a lot of crystals in this room right now.
Oh my God.
As soon as I started accepting that, inviting in that I would allow the universe to bring me the things that were meant for me, and trusting myself and my own inner guidance, so much more of that stuff just started coming. I didn't have a steady mentor until I was pretty far in, and someone told me about this spiritual therapist that they'd seen. So I started seeing her. I got it. Her name's Chelsea. Her last name's spelled like Scoira, and if anyone wants to look her up, she's like the most amazing person.
Yeah, we can put it in the show notes or
great
something.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but that was really, really helpful to have someone to walk me through it, because in the beginning, it got really scary a lot of times. Something would happen,
like,
and
how do
I
you
would
mean
like,
scary?
So I was just opening up to my intuition and this process. I started automatic writing. Do you have any experience with that?
Automatic writing? Is that just like journaling, like with the pen flow, or?
It's really channeling, but through writing, kind of connecting with your guides and asking them what they have to say. It was really interesting. And this one day they told me, I was still, not even fully trusting this stuff, but I was doing it. Is this me? Is this my intuition? I don't know. And one day the message I got was that I would help someone in an unexpected way. I didn't believe it. I didn't even write it down because there was no way that was true, Then later that day, I got a phone call from someone I only knew professionally. The call was planned, but they started opening up to me about how their house was haunted and these experiences that they were having, and that they needed my help, and that they didn't tell me they needed my help. They said, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Like, this could ruin me professionally, but I just felt like I needed to tell you. And I was like, I know why you're telling me. It's because you're meant to be telling me. But then I questioned it after, I asked myself this question that I don't recommend people asking themselves, which was that real? Like, did that really happen? Is this stuff really happening? It just felt too crazy to actually be real.
Right, the coincidences.
Yeah. Then I started questioning my own sanity for a little while, until I found a YouTube video on why people do that on spiritual journeys. And but I was having to find all these pieces, So finding someone who could be there with me throughout this process was really huge. And that's part of what led to me wanting to do this now, is to walk that path with someone so they don't have to do it alone.
Aw, that's so good. What a gift. You really are just making the world a better place. So tell me about the energy healing, because you do Reiki, and there's two that I haven't heard of, which is pendulum swinging or pendulum. Can we call you a swinger? And also emotion code. What are those? And how do they help people?
Using a pendulum is something that anyone can learn to do, which is really cool. And it's just a great tool to tap into our intuition. It can also really help us build that trust. So if you've ever heard of sway testing or muscle testing, It's the same kind of thing. It's just a different tool where you hold a weight on a string and it'll swing one direction for a yes, one direction for a no. You can use gauges and scales and things like that. And then to use it for healing, a lot of it is just intent. Also, I got to say how funny it is that you're asking me about this today, because I did some pendulum healing on myself this morning for the first time in at least 4 months, probably, maybe even longer, using the pendulum to support me and knowing how long I need to set that intention for, because eventually it stops and then I can check, okay, is this gone? You can use it for all sorts of things. And I do use it a lot of times with the emotion code, which is another really cool tool. So are you familiar at all with how emotions can get trapped in our bodies?
Oh, yeah. I actually had that experience today. And I was also talking with my neighbor last night, and, her mother died in June. And, I was just saying, like, dude, if it's like your metabolism, like if you do not process emotions, they're going to get stuck inside you and they're going to wreak havoc on you, and you're just going to carry them around with you. And your emotional metabolism is so important. Like, I don't think that we should teach that in school, because we all experience emotions sometimes, especially for children, huge emotions, and to like let them pass through and let them go. You don't want to be carrying that stuff around, because when you don't feel good, then you treat everybody else like shit. And so then we're all treating each other like shit. If we could just, shit out our emotions, like, thank you, I'm feeling better. Sorry, that was a lot of cussing, but, and like poop analogies, but tell me what emotional code is.
Yeah, so absolutely, I agree with everything that you just said. And when we don't process our emotions, they can get trapped inside of us physically. And this happens sometimes too. It's not even our fault. We might do the work to process them, but maybe it doesn't happen. I don't know how it always occurs, but if an emotion gets trapped in us, it affects the way that we interact with others. It affects the stories that we tell ourselves and the things that are happening to us. It can affect our bodies too. Like it can cause physical pain. It can cause, a lot of people now call it dis-ease and all sorts of issues. The emotion code is a cool little chart, basically, that helps you find a trapped emotion and then makes it really easy to release that emotion.
Yeah, how do you release it?
So, again, it's
just by awareness and then intention of releasing.
I believe that it's mostly intent. And so I'll do it a couple different ways depending on what tools I have and who's there. In the book about this, by the person who invented this process, he uses a magnet. And so I usually do too. And we'll run that magnet down someone's, I think it's the governing meridian, with the intent to release that emotion. I'm releasing this trapped fear. I'm releasing this trapped fear. I'm releasing this trapped fear. If the person's not with me, then usually I'll still use a magnet and I will just visualize myself running it over their back. It's amazing because it takes, once you find the emotion, which doesn't take too long, you can release it in 30 seconds and it's gone forever. So that fear that could have been trapped since you were 2 years old and got left alone has been affecting you your whole life. Even if you've been bringing your awareness to it and you know that your inner child has this fear, you can release that instance of fear in 30 seconds.
Jeez, that's amazing. Like, everybody needs to know about that.
Right? The other really cool thing about it is that usually we don't have to go in and find out, okay, this is from when you were 2 years old and you accidentally locked yourself in the closet or whatever it is, You don't have to relive all that traumatizing stuff or that even just that uncomfortable stuff. Sometimes you just have to know that it's fear and to release it. I could say, what is holding me back in my business right now? Trapped fear.
Yeah.
I'll ask some more questions and maybe I'll have to find out what time period it came from or something like that, but maybe not. And there is no sitting there with that emotion and reliving the whole thing. If it's ready to release, you can just release it. And anyone can learn this technique too.
Bara, I really was just thinking about that this morning, just because I had gotten into an argument with my husband, and I was just like, it was stuck inside me, and I knew I was ruminating over it. I was like having fights with him in my head, and I'm just like, wow, I'm really trapping this emotion or processing it. There's even deeper seated things going on in our subconscious that we don't even know about, that are running in the background.
Yeah. Like, was that even about that fight that you just had? Or was it about something that could have happened to you when you were a little kid or in a previous relationship?
Exactly. Yeah. Usually it is, right? Yeah. Yeah. It's the trigger. Have you read The Untethered Soul?
I have read half of The Untethered Soul. I like it. I want to finish it, but finishing books is a challenge for me.
Oh, me too. Me too. That's so funny. Well, I was just thinking because the author talks about how, we have these triggers inside of us, things that, will set us off or make us feel a certain emotion like anger, sadness, or whatever. And we tend to build up things around us that will, prevent these triggers from being poked and making it hurt us. And the only way forward is just to get rid of these triggers. So it starts with awareness. If it's emotion code that helps us get rid of them, then that's awesome. And you also do Reiki too, right?
Yeah. It's kind of become my own blend of whatever. I'll do the emotion code separate one off, but when I'm working on someone in person or virtually or even completely remote without being connected over Zoom or anything, it'll use some of what I've learned from Reiki, some of what I've learned from crystal healing, but it doesn't feel like that anymore. It just feels like I'm just being led by my intuition, basically, which these things really helped me access. And now it's my own process, which I think is how it goes for a lot of healers once they have some time to start practicing.
So when working moms are, working and momming and doing all these things with they call it the mental load of motherhood. And there's not a lot of time to relax and kind of like remove yourself from all those overwhelming emotions of people judging us, people expectations of ourselves too. And so how do you induce a natural high or get yourself to relax very quickly let's say if you didn't have a lot of time? Like you and I, we love taking walks on the beach, right? Because we live near the beach, which first of all is just amazing. I used to smoke a lot of pot, but I don't do that anymore because I felt like I was reliant on it, and I didn't want to just, I knew that immediate kind of like snap out of this emotion and get into this great fun state. So how do you get people, yourself, or would you recommend other people get into like a relaxed or natural high?
I think that one of the best things that we can do is listen to our bodies, for one thing. A lot of times I'll get myself into trouble if I say, I'm supposed to relax now. It's 8 p.m. I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch TV and this will relax me, or read a book or whatever if I'm not relaxed and if I don't want to sit there. Really, what I should do at that point, if I still have this energy and I want to work with it, is go for a walk. I can't work out late at night. That's going to mess up my sleep schedule. Unless I guess if I really, really felt that strongly I needed to do it, then maybe that's worth doing. But for me, going for a walk is an amazing thing. That might not be accessible to a lot of people if you've got a kid in the other room and you can't leave. But maybe there's some yoga or some sort of movement that you can do to work with your body if it doesn't want to sit still. Meditation is also amazing. And that is one thing that I have a lot of resistance to doing it when I don't want to sit still. And most people do. However, if I just give myself some time to go with it, a lot of times it works, and it really helps. And then that can settle me in. Even better sometimes is a movement-based meditation practice. Learned a little bit of Qigong through YouTube. And it's very slow movements, but it's focused on the breath and your body's moving at the same time. So that can help me sometimes if I don't want to sit down and meditate.
That sounds like a different version of yoga a little bit. Instead of like holding poses, maybe it's a slower kind of methodical movement. But I like what you were saying, Bara, about just even asking yourself, like, what am I feeling right now? What does my body need? That's so important. As moms, we just don't do that. And it's so powerful because your body will tell you, or your mind will tell you what you need.
I think the problem is that a lot of times we listen way too much to our minds. So we've been letting our minds speak for so many years. I mean, when we were little kids, we were told, don't listen to your body that wants to move. You have to sit still in this chair or you're going to get in trouble. We developed that habit. And now if we had anyone who works in like a corporate setting or a job with multiple people or even some sort of team with multiple people, have you ever worked with a coworker who has great ideas, but they're quiet? They're just a quiet person. And so how do we treat that person? Do we just continue to talk over them all the time? If we know that they probably have the answer because they have good ideas, most of us would stop and we'd ask them and say, pause and say, hey, Jessica, do you have any ideas what we can do here?
Yeah, and just like slowing down and making space for Jessica.
Yeah, slowing down, giving her that room and asking her the question. And we can do the same thing with our own bodies too, just pausing and saying, hey, I want to listen to you. It's okay for you to speak right now. I'm not going to talk over you. Do you have anything to tell me?
Jessica. And in this scenario, Jessica is our intuition, right? Or
yeah,
listening to your intuition, because intuition is such a whisper. It is sometimes hard to know. But then the inner critic can also seem like a whisper sometimes too, but it's not. It's because your intuition is gentle and for the higher good, for your own betterment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. If it's being rude or it's fear-based, then there's a good chance that it's not our intuition. Another thing that can really help us to access it or any of this stuff, this all might just sound overwhelming to listen to your body and ask it what it needs. But if you just pause and take like 3 deep belly breaths, really breathing down in there and just letting it go, it's incredible how much space that can make. Sometimes that might be all that I need to release that scattered, frazzled, energetic feeling that tells me I can't sit down and relax.
That's so true. Bara, just even, 3 deep breaths. I mean, which we can take anywhere and just alleviate some of the tension or the hecticness, the overwhelmingness.
Absolutely. Line at the grocery store, go for it. At the traffic light, screaming kid in the background, deep breaths. You can even suggest to other people when things get intense, like, hey, how about we just pause and we take some breaths together? I don't recall ever being in a situation where someone didn't feel better after we stopped and did that together. But a lot of times we don't know it when we need it. We need someone else to tell us like, hey, maybe you could just slow down for a second. That'd make you feel a little bit better. But I might not want to hear that from them, but if they said, hey, would you breathe with me for a moment? Okay, well, if you need me to breathe with you, then I guess I'll do this exercise if it's for your betterment.
This is an awesome episode of Megafest, but I'm just going to call a quick TO to tell you about the Soulgasm Society. My mission is to create a community of supportive and uplifting women who want to know how to make their one short precious life all the more joyful, add in some play and celebration, and learn the science behind how do you make your brain happy, all the techniques on how to calm your nervous system, and how to not fly off the mommy hamster wheel, because you can't all stop working and you can't really get rid of your kids for more than 2 weeks. you gotta deal with it. And the best way to make your life happy is from the inside out. If you're not gonna do it for yourself, do it for your kids. They will see a difference. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And there is so much truth to that. So the Soulgasm Society is your answer. Come join us. You can click the link in the bio of my Instagram or the link in the show notes. I can't wait to have multiple simultaneous soulgasms with you. All right, now back to Megafest.
It seemed like you are able to see the magic in the world. And I think that is part of being so positive. So what are some magics that you see in the world? And to tell us about your metaskating? Is that what you call it?
Manifestating.
Oh, yeah. Do more of that. I love it. Manifestating. Okay. So what's that all about?
Manifestating is all about, it's a manifestation practice / a positivity practice, I guess. But it's just about creating the experience that we want to have in this world. And I like to do that on rollerblades and call it manifestating because I think it's really funny.
Yeah. It is. You could really lead a whole group doing that.
I would absolutely love to do that. Yeah, throw on some positive music, get out there and look for the vibes that you want to see in the world. But you don't need to rollerblade for this. I like to go on manifestation walks or connection walks, or, I mean, you can do this driving or at the grocery store. But basically, to find the magic in the world, we really just have to look for it. Really seek it out. I start with, a manifestation practice of, okay, what do I really want to be ultimately experiencing? I think a lot of people think of manifestation. I want this mansion that overlooks the beach or whatever it is. Okay, but how does that make you feel? Well, for me, it makes me feel free. It makes me feel safe. It makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel connected because I'm having people over to entertain all the time. So what is it about this that I want the most? Maybe right now I want that connected feeling. I'm going to bring that connection into my life by going out and looking for connection and looking for the ways in which I'm already connected. And when I see it, pause it, take it in, love it. We could be go skating, manifest skating, or for a manifestation walk where we've decided, okay, I want to bring more connection in. This is also a great thing to do if I'm feeling very disconnected and alone. I'm going to keep feeling that way unless I decide to change it. So I'm going to go out and look for little bits of connection. And let's say you feel really disconnected and alone. It might be hard for you to find this within yourself, but maybe you can find it in others. Maybe you can see someone playing with their dog and say, oh, how connected and beautiful is that? Maybe you're in a state where you hate people. You can see a couple birds flying around together and just breathe in that connection and just take a moment. And I like to pause and I like to thank the universe for it, or whoever, you believe in. It could be your own intuition for sensing it. But thank you for this connection that's all around us. Please keep bringing me more of it. Oh. Then maybe you're able to see it now in this person interacting with another person or whatever. And then maybe someone smiles at you later. And you can actually receive that and start bringing more of that in.
Yeah. And then in turn, spreading it out, sending out heart-shaped vibes to the world.
Yeah. I will tell you about someone that I worked with who really hated that. It felt very strong to them, some of the people that they had to work with. So they were miserable at work and they thought that they had this big problem with their job and they didn't know if they wanted to stay there anymore. We looked at what was the biggest thorn there, and it was some people that they had to work with. And we talked about that first. Did they actually have to work with this client, or could they change that? Because sometimes it is that simple. We can just remove ourselves from the situation. They couldn't. So they had to work with this person. So it was, okay, how can we shift your experience with this person? How can this not affect your day so much? And there were different angles. A lot of what we did was teaching them how to protect their own energy So they weren't taking this stuff on, and it wasn't so personal when this person said mean things to them. Also, this person just was a very grumpy person. So they weren't picking up their grumpiness, just being around them. Also helping them to see this person differently, finding what they had in common with them so that they could see them from a more caring, loving perspective in the first place. And we did some emotional, trapped emotion work as well, and released some of the things that were really tied into all of this. This was 2 sessions, and suddenly this person wasn't a problem for them anymore. They didn't like them all of a sudden, but they were able to work with them just fine and enjoy their job.
Wow, look at that. Yeah. So boundaries, a reframe, and then emotion code, or, we'll say, in my words, like emotional metabolism, where you just kind of like work through whatever that thorn is, releasing the thorn kind of.
Yeah. And a lot of times that's all it takes. I mean, a lot of times just one of those things might be all that it takes. It's when you have to work with someone every day and they're calling you names and looking down on you and they're sexist, and then you might need to do a little more work, like in this situation. But sometimes just seeing that other person as someone who also cares about their family and the betterment of their own life, society. You can just shift it that quick sometimes.
Gosh, and because that's one thing about this, like healing and reflecting on ourselves and becoming the best person we can be, which I call realizing popularity, where you just love yourself and accept yourself and kind of learn how to be the best person you can in the world. And it just sometimes is so slow and incremental. It can be defeating, because it doesn't, in our society now, we want everything so fast. But what you're saying is, working with a transformational life coach and an energy healer, you can do that a lot faster.
That's one of the amazing things about the energy healing part too, is it can just shift stuff really quick and change it forever. And that's why I love bringing it in. I do a 3-month program with people, not a year-long or a, infinite one. You can move stuff really quick. And that last month is probably just really creating your new normal and getting you used to it and comfortable with it. I want to respond to something that you said about how it can be very slow and incremental. And that's true. And it can get frustrating. And also, it isn't always true. And so I think that sometimes we're expecting our growth to be very slow sometimes. Sometimes we expect it to be fast and we get frustrated. But sometimes if we expect something to be slow, it's going to be slow, right?
Right.
If you go out for a jog or something and you expect that you're not going to have a good jog, chances are you're not, because you're already just negative going into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The Eleanor Roosevelt quote about whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. So this could be the day for everyone listening to this right now or watching it. This could be the moment that your whole life changes and everything's better forever. I mean, it really, really could be. And accepting that and opening up to that and saying, hey, I'm ready. I don't need to go through all this process. That's something that'll come up with, I was just working with a client on the other day, and they wanted to really, really get in deep and really understand all of the issues that built up to this. And I was asking them, well, do you need to understand it? Are you okay with just healing it and being done with it? And they said they were, but I don't think they really quite were, but it's opening up to that and that possibility. I'm an analytical person. I like to understand stuff, and I like to get in there deep into my own psyche and mind. And I'm trying to just let that go sometimes and say, hey, I don't need that anymore. I'm ready. Just bring me the money, universe. I don't need to know why I've been pushing it off.
Right? Yes. Oh, that's so funny. I'm reading or listening to Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass at Making Money. So yeah, if you haven't read that one, you're going to love it.
All right. I might need to.
Maybe audiobooks would be good for you.
Yeah.
If because for me, finishing books is reading. I cannot. but listening, I can.
Sitting still is hard sometimes.
You don't need to sit still. That's the thing.
That's
I
the
can't
great
sit
thing
still.
with audiobooks. Yeah. Cleaning or.
Yeah, especially for busy moms, or you're in the car, or, turning your car into a classroom. I'm sure you're not in your car very much because you live by the beach and everything's right there, but.
Yeah. And reminding ourselves that we can do more than one thing at once. Because I think when I got really serious about my meditation, my mindfulness practice, I stopped wanting to listen to stuff while I was walking and those kinds of things, because I got in my head, I need to be just focusing on the moment. I need to be just focusing on the birds. And I can do that sometimes, and I don't have to do that every time. And it's allowing ourselves to experience all these things at once if we want to.
Right, exactly. I am a positive person who doesn't always wake up positive. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and sometimes, on occasion, maybe low level. And for me, just constantly having like the messages in my head about, learning and reassuring my mind with all these positive messages is good for me. But also, like you're saying, mindfulness is really important too. That'll bring you right back into the present moment, and we don't need anything else, right? Make peace with the past, and 90% of what we worry about is not going to happen. So just be in the moment.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this whole big thing. It can be literally a 2-minute practice. I've heard from a lot of parents that they'll feel guilty if they take time to meditate or whatever. But for one thing, you don't have to do it for 20 minutes. In fact, you should not start with 20 minutes. You should really just start with 1 or 2 minutes until you get used to that. It's going to improve the experience of whoever you're with, or you'll be able to pay more attention to your child later that day. If you literally can't get that alone time too, if you got a newborn or something, it can just be mindfully feeding them and just paying attention to what's going on in that moment instead of watching TV, or when your mind starts to worry about what is going to happen later that day, just to remind it and say, hey, let's come back to this experience for this moment.
Oh, it must be so good to be inside your mind, Bara. It seems like a peaceful place.
It's really fun, but it's full of a lot of twists and turns too. It gets a little weird in here, so it's not for the faint of heart.
Now for something completely different, let me ask you, what is the best vacation you ever took?
Oh, man. I think it's the one I'm about to take. I'm really excited about the vacation I'm about to take because I haven't done much solo traveling before, but I've got something in Arizona one weekend. And then 2 weekends later, I have something else in Arizona. And it just really felt like I'm supposed to go spend some time with myself and connecting with the earth, seeing some other people too, and seeing what comes in, but planning it out pretty minimally. I'm going to paddleboard into Antelope Canyon, which I'm really excited about. I think it might take an hour and a half or so of paddling to get in there and then hike around and then come back, which is the thing I was talking about earlier when I was like, shouldn't I be scared about this? And this seemed like a bad idea. I'm trying to prepare myself and practice paddleboarding a bit, but if the universe, tells me not to do it, or weather conditions change or something, then I'll go with that and allow that too. But I just feel this very magical experience coming on.
Yeah. What river is that?
It's Lake Havasu is where you start, and then you somehow end up in these canyons that are amazing from what I've read.
Yes. So in your stand-up paddleboarding?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Are you going with a group or?
Well, see, that's the part that I'm like, shouldn't this feel a little sketchy? Because I'm planning to just do it by myself, but I wouldn't be surprised if I wind up meeting other people and not doing it alone, or wind up with other people on the trip. But yeah, I'm doing it myself and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. I love all that. The little bit of outside your comfort zone, the challenge.
Thanks. Yeah, it's hard for me to name a favorite vacation because pretty much every vacation that I'm on is the best vacation, you know?
So freaking positive, and I love it.
I can't help it. But I'm not talking like, and it's something I need to be aware of too, because that's something I'm really cautious about. I don't want to push my positivity onto someone else. And if someone's seeing the world dark, and, you know, when I do too, it's important to give that space as well. And
yes,
a lot of times we can shift it to light.
Absolutely. And I feel the same. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because, yeah, we're not being toxic positivity right now. We're just being ourselves. And we know we're being ourselves because we took the Clifton Strengths Finder test, and the two of us are positive. That's one of our highest ranking strengths. And I think it is a strength. So, but yeah, making space for if somebody isn't quite there yet.
Yeah. And it's cool that you said that too, because just seeing it from that lens of a strength, if someone's listening to this right now and they're really annoyed by how positive we are, well, any strength you can build, right? You can get stronger. We don't all start strong in things. So if you want to be more positive, that is absolutely something that you can do. And there's nothing wrong with being where you're at. And you can change and build more of that positivity if you desire. And I recommend it. Mm-hmm. It's very fun.
I do too. And in fact, I'll just say it right here. It's amazing that the two of us have the same of the top 5 strengths. The two of us have the same 4 of the same. And I've never met anybody else. And it does not surprise me though, because when I saw you on Instagram, I was just like, this chick is like my people.
Yeah. And we met on Instagram. And so I want to throw this out there to anyone too. I've talked to so many cool people this week who I met through Instagram. So who sent me the first message? Even though I teach about connection and stuff, I haven't taken it upon myself to do that in many cases. So if there's anyone out there who you're vibing with or you just think is really cool, send them that message. You never know what could happen from it. It can't hurt you though.
Right, exactly. Yeah, to kind of spread that, hey, I think what you're doing is cool, or like, you know, give a compliment or just encouragement or whatever it is, acknowledgement. You know, if you have a compliment in your head, you should speak it.
Yeah. Even
on the internet.
Absolutely. Not as long as it's not like about someone else's body, pretty much. Like,
right. Yeah, this is true. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I guess my last question is always, you know, what's your pump up song? And we talked about this one earlier, and it wasn't, you need a new pump up song.
Well, one came to me after.
Oh, okay, so, good.
And right now, just in this moment, it feels like Shake It Off would be my pump up song by Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Yes, for you this morning, because you were saying about the other, what did you call it? Other people's...
Oh, yeah. Disturbing effects of others and, yeah, other people's energy. Shaking is an amazing way to get energy off of you or move it around. And it's fun, and that's just a great song, and Taylor Swift is just amazing, so...
Yeah. So is there anything else that I didn't ask you or mention that you want to tell people who are listening?
One thing that's been coming up for me a lot lately has been minimizing myself or accomplishments or whatever. This is something that we tend to do a lot. This is something that women tend to do a lot. Parents tend to do a lot. Next time you hear yourself tone down any of your accomplishments or any positive thing that you're sharing, pause, go back. We can do that in real life even, and just say it fully for what it is. It's not, I got my kid down to bed really easily this night, but you should have seen last night. No, forget about last night. This is about what you did right. Let's focus on what we're doing right and what you want more of, and that's going to create more of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's also sort of receiving the compliment too, in a way, and receiving is a feminine power that we often deny. We also dim our light sometimes because we don't want to shine too bright and make everybody else feel like they're not enough too. But in actuality, if we do just be ourselves, it gives people permission to shine their light too. Like I have a friend who says, oh, yeah, thank you. But exactly like what you were saying, right? Like, oh, you like my car? Oh, well, you should see the inside. Or oh, you like my purse? Oh, well, it was super cheap or whatever, instead of just saying, I mean, sometimes bargains are people's love language. So to mention that is like, yeah, and it's even greater than you think because I got it for a deal. But it, just to accept and shine your light and to be okay with that because it empowers others.
Yeah. And how does that make you feel when that friend kind of knocks down your compliment?
Shitty, right?
It's at best, it's awkward, right? Because you're like, I don't know what to say about your dirty inside of your car. So we do this as a way it's like the subconscious attempt to fit in and connect with others, but it actually makes it a lot worse for them too. So just saying thank you so much is probably the best thing you could say for either of you.
Being aware of what your thoughts are, right? And how you're using your words. That's what you were saying, right? It's like, be aware when you're talking yourself down, because if you're thinking and talking yourself down, you're putting yourself down. You're not letting yourself grow and talk into existence what you want, right?
Yeah. Talk it into existence, manifestate it into existence.
That's it. We're going manifestating.
I'm in.
We're going to Megafest and we're going to manifestate and it's going to be great.
I'm in. Just tell me what.
Oh, Bara, this is so fun. I just am you just bring me so much joy and I so enjoy talking with you. And you really are making the world a better place because you are doing the work and you're helping other people do the work. And this is going to have such a positive effect for maybe generations to come. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for what you do, spreading all this positivity and love around. It's just absolutely incredible. And I've had a blast.
Don't you just love Bara? Oh, she's so great. Oh, what a gal. To stay in touch with Bara, you can find her on Instagram at Bara Co Bara, BaraCo Bara. And she's also on LinkedIn. And last but not least, you can always go to her website, baraco.org. BARACO.org. I loved all the tricks that Bara mentioned. There was quite a few. I think my favorite still goes back to breath work. Like she was saying, just taking 3 deep belly breaths can really just change everything. Who knew it was that simple? But we just have to remember it in the moment when we're frazzled or triggered or whatever it might be. If this episode was delightful or you felt a little bit of betterment because of it, I want you to subscribe and maybe share it with a friend or put it on your Instagram story and just tag Bara and I and let us know what you liked about it or what was the biggest takeaway for you. I know you can be doing so many things with your day, but I am so grateful that we are here together and you give me this space in your ear, in your head, and your heart. I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Remember, don't just manifest, Megafest.